Good day and welcome to Alena Media TV. We are broadcasting from Toronto, Canada. I am Elsa Abraham, and in this episode we are bringing you the focus on the Horn of Africa. This is our headlines. Ethiopia is going down Eritrea's dark path. Let's go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll get our focus on Horn of Africa in details. Welcome back from that break. Now, the 2018 peace between Eritrea and Ethiopia meant a breath of new life for Eritreans. It was not an ordinary peace where two adversaries agreed to settle their differences. It had much deeper significance for Eritreans. Eritreans had been at war for the previous 6 decades. Generations were born in war, lived in war, and breathed war. When the Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed declared peace in April 2018 and came to Eritrea to deliver peace in person, they received him like a hero, as a son they had been waiting on for too long. Tears were flowing down the cheeks of so many people. Peace had finally arrived. For the Eritrean people, this was a new beginning, a period of planning their lives as a normal society. It brought hope and a strong desire to see an end to their children being snatched from them at a tender age. For the youth, the peace gave hope that they can look forward to a normal life where they can aspire for a career, make a family, live a stable life, heralding a life of no flight from their country, an end to living in hospitable refugee camps, and dying in the Sahara and the Sinai deserts and drowning in the Mediterranean Sea. People in Eritrea anticipated this peace to bring a respite from the endless wars and suffering that President Isaias Afwerki had put them through. They hoped for change at home and for their country to integrate back into the region as a strong voice for peace, security, and stability. In September 2018, as part of the declaration of peace between the two leaders, the border with Ethiopia was opened. Eritreans felt even more hopeful as they started to travel to Ethiopia, mainly to neighboring Tigray. What they found astounded them. They saw development, they saw structures and construction rising up, factories working, universities functioning, and wealth generating, etc. It was under these circumstances that Eritreans started hoping that Abiy's brand of reform will influence and encourage Isaias to initiate and implement similar changes and release political prisoners that have been incarcerated for over 18 and 20 years. Their whereabouts still unknown. The journalists and many known and unknown that have disappeared since the young that were kept in modern-day slavery like bondage, seized the sexual abuses and violence practiced in Sawa military training camp. Eritrea will once again be a normal country. Now, the reality of the situation. Alas, this was not to be. Instead of building democracy, Eritrea exported dictatorship. Instead of reconciling with former enemies, Eritrea sought new ways to vanquish them. The Eritrean president attempted to curve a new grouping of Ethiopia, Somalia, and Eritrea as an axis of autocracy. Even though the peace agreement was formally speaking the fulfillment of the Organization of African Union's OAU Algiers Agreement, Isaias snubbed the African Union and flew instead to Abu Dhabi and then to Jeddah to celebrate the deal with Arab states. Instead of rejoining and strengthening the regional bloc, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, he continues to undermine it, with the aim of making it irrelevant and allowing it to die out. True to his nature, Isaias, without warning, closed everything down, sealing of all border crossings. If an Eritrean wants to visit relatives in Tigray, they will now have to travel to Addis Ababa first, and from there to Mekelle or anywhere in Tigray. If a Tigrayan wants to visit Eritrea, the route is through Addis Ababa. People living in the border areas had to once again resort to smuggling themselves, with all its attendant risk. To see relatives on the other side, keeping people separated and impoverished seems to suit the design of the Eritrean president. It is now over 2.5 years since the declaration of peace in Eritrea. However, no reform occurred, and there is no sign that it ever will. As a matter of fact, more people were put in prison, disappearing into the gulag. Now, Abiy and Isaias. Why was Abiy tagging along as a junior partner in this destructive plot? Eritreans felt doubtfully betrayed. The people gave their hearts to Abiy. Mothers blessed him. Fathers felt proud of him. We all believed he was a man of peace, a serious reformer, a person of integrity with unshakable principles and inexhaustible energy to eliminate conflict from the race of Ethiopia and its neighbors, and with a deep commitment to regional integration. Instead, Abiy sent his army against one of the regions of his own country, claiming to be provoked by them, by the Tigray People's Liberation Front. What is most unkind of Eritreans is his invitation of President Isaias to be a part of the invasion of Tigray, an invitation that is causing our youth to perish by the thousands while causing immense suffering to the people of Tigray. Eritreans are deeply wounded. The war presently waged over Tigray has its parallels with those fought by Emperor Haile Selassie and the Jared, especially the latter that was viciously waged against Eritrea. This war that went on for 30 years was virtually hidden from ordinary Ethiopians and the world at large, until Eritreans were indigenous and strong enough to bring the international media to witness it. Successive Ethiopian governments dubbed it a war against a small number of outlaws. Terrorist was not yet a catchphrase. That were instigated, armed, and supported by the Arabs. This was repeated in the most demonizing way by the Ethiopian elite. They reiterated, propagated, believed, and lived with it, oblivious of what this meant to their own country, for at that time Eritrea was officially a part of Ethiopia. The elite never looked back at themselves and asked, why such a vicious war? A war where Ethiopian peasants were perishing by the tens and latter hundreds of thousands had to continue. Once more, Ethiopian leaders are waging war against their own, the people of Tigray. Once more, the great majority of the Ethiopian elite seem to find it convenient to believe the government's propaganda. As Eritreans were branded Arab agents bent on destroying Ethiopia, Tigrayans are maligned in a similar manner, but more systematically, under the guise of exposing crimes committed by the TPLF by no less than the Prime Minister. Hatred against Tigrayans is being cultivated by the political elite, consistently funded and normalized. Such sanitized and institutionalized ingraining of hatred against any group can only have a calamitous end. And in Ethiopia today, it has reached a point where Ethiopians on social media express their feelings at Tigrayans, where the source of all that ails their country, and getting rid of them, even physically removing them from the face of the earth, is the right thing to do. History repeating itself. This has the implication of preparing the people for an impending ethnic cleansing, which many average Ethiopians seem to applaud implicitly, at the least on social media platforms. As a result, war crimes and crimes against humanity are being committed as we speak, leaving deep wounds that render reconciliation difficult, if not impossible. In the case of present-day Tigray, in order to weaken the TPLF, Abiy's government says it has to subdue the civilians, including subjecting them to famine and death. History is repeating itself after 40 years. This is where we end today's episode on the Focus on Horn of Africa. Please like, share, comment. Let us know your thoughts on this particular episode. Thanks for watching.